Talking about Sardi 10 then, as a variety.
Okay, so with lucerne varieties, there's a range in winter activity. Okay, so there's no difference in summer or spring activity. It's all to do with the winter activity. And so Sardi, the winter activity rating is between 0 and 10. And Sardi 10 is actually have a rating of 10, and 10 is the highest winter activity, with 0 being the lowest winter activity. And so you've got the maximum you can get. So, but there's a number of issues around picking that sort of variety, in that it's good for a Mediterranean environment to have a highly winter active variety. And it's a beautiful variety for short-term rotations, so 3 to 4 years of lucerne and then going into a cropping rotation. Where it falls down is when, or not doesn't fall down, but you have some disadvantages when you have long phases of lucerne. And the thing is, with the higher winter activity, you get less persistence generally. But with the mid-range winter activity, say 5 to 7, they will be much more persistent, and it's all to do with the crown, and so, or the growing point. And we looked at the growing point, and generally with the high winter activity, or all of the high winter activity varieties, the crown is much higher. Yes. And we saw one which was actually above the surface. Yes. And when you get a lower winter activity, the crown actually sits lower and it's often below the surface. Sure. And that makes a difference in terms of grazing. So if the growing point gets cut off by the sheep, then it will kill the plant. So when we put sheep in that paddock now, we know they're going to target those lovely luscious green plants. Yeah. Their intake, at least depending on how long we leave them there, of the dry annual, which is acting sort of like a mulch really. There's about five tonnes of dry annual pasture on the top there. But we know they're going to target those plants, so am I right in saying we have to really monitor that to make sure that they've left Annam out so they don't get that growing point? Yeah, no, definitely. Yes. So it's an extremely important point, that you watch that growing tip, and if they overgraze it, then the sheep have got to come off. Sure.
Could we, I mean, if I was to, even though it's a very precious plant, I'll go and feed it to some sheep, but I mean, is there any way we can demonstrate what sort of, so we know it's going to get down to that easily?
Yeah, so that's fine.
So about down to there,
Yeah, that's fine. And you could probably go a little bit lower.
A little bit lower than that,
but yeah.
Okay. So when we see just...
It's the growing point. So where it's coming out of, the growing point, this here.
Oh, righto.
So all the stems are coming from this growing point.
Emanating from that.
And you can see how the growing point is above ground.
Okay.
So
once, all right, that's brilliant. Excellent. All right,
so that's the key.
We'll put them in and we'll monitor it, like we'll put them in one day and come back the very next day and check that we're not going below that, and then that'll be the signal.